It was June 1978 and 18-year-old Jeffrey Dahmer was living with his family's home in Bath Township, Ohio. His parents had recently split, and the house felt empty and silent. One warm afternoon, Dahmer spotted an 18-year-old Stephen Hicks hitchhiking on a rock concert. Wanting a company, Dahmer pulled over and offered him a ride, suggesting they'd stop by his place for a few beers before the show. They sat drinking and talking for hours, but when Hicks said it's time to go, Dahmer's fear of being left alone turned into desperation. He grabbed something heavy, swung it into Hicks' head, and then strangled him until he stopped breathing. After Hicks was dead, Dahmer stood in shock, unsure of what to do. At first, he dragged the body into a crawl space under the house and hid it. Days passed and the smell started to spread. Dahmer panicked. He carried the body into the basement where he cut into smaller pieces. He placed the remains in trash bags, drove them nearby wooded area, and buried them in a shallow grave. Weeks later, he returned to dig them up. He smashed the bones with a hammer until they turned into fragments, scattering them across the forest floor. This was the first step in the dark path that would haunt America for decades. Nearly 9 years passed before Dahmer killed again. It was November 20, 1987. Dahmer was now living on his own and often spent his nights in bars. That evening, he met a 25-year-old Stephen Talmy, a friendly man who worked at a restaurant. Dahmer convinced Talmy to come with him in a hotel room he had rented. They continued drinking late into the night. Dahmer claimed later that he blacked out and didn't remember what happened next. But when he woke up in the morning, Talmy was laying beside him, lifeless, his chest beaten in. Dahmer panicked, knowing he couldn't just leave the body there. He stuffed Talmy into a large suitcase, carried it through the hotel lobby, and loaded it into a taxi back to his grandmother's house. In the basement, Dahmer cut the body into pieces like he did before, placed the flesh in the garbage bags for the trash, and kept the head for several weeks before disposing of it. This time, there was no shallow grave. Everything was destroyed. It was a turning point. Dahmer now knew he could kill and make a body disappear without anyone finding out. After his second kill, 2 months passed and Jeffrey Dahmer's life began to feel different. What had once been unthinkable was now disturbingly familiar. The act of killing no longer shook him. It excited him. The memory of the last victim wasn't a burden. It was a fuel. Each night he replayed the moments in his mind, savoring the control, the power, and the secrecy. The fear of getting caught had dulled. Dahmer began to prowl the streets more often, scanning bars, bus stops, and lonely sidewalks like a predator, searching for his next meal. He learned to blend in, to smile, to chat casually, to make strangers feel at ease. But behind him, his calm demeanor, his thoughts were violent and calculated. Every glance he gave wasn't just curiosity. It was mental measurement of how easy it would be to take that person home. By the time he found his third victim, he wasn't nervous anymore. He was patient, careful, and deliberate. The kill was quick, and the aftermath cleaner than before. Over the years, the pattern repeated itself. Each kill became a routine. Each body was disposed of with precision, and each time the line between fantasy and reality blurred further. He felt untouchable until one night in 1991, a man escaped his apartment and flagged down police.
I hit him and I ran towards the door, and he was right there, tried to grab me, get me back in there.
And what happened?
Then I made it outside.
Dahmer lured Edward to his apartment. Once inside, Dahmer pulled a knife, handcuffed him, and tried to force him into his bedroom, where the smell of rotten flesh filled the air. Edwards played along, pretending to be friendly and looking for a way to get out. Eventually, when Dahmer's guard dropped, Edwards punched him and ran to the door. Still in handcuffs, he flagged down 2 police officers and told them a weird guy tried to kill him. The two officers went to Dahmer's apartment with Edwards to get the keys to the handcuffs. Once inside, one officer noticed a Polaroid picture on a dresser. It was a freshly dismembered human body posed in a disturbing positions. A search revealed skulls in the refrigerator, severed heads in the freezer, and human remains in acid. Dahmer was arrested on the spot, ending his 13-year killing spree. And just like that, the walls of Jeffrey Dahmer's hidden world came crashing down. For years he'd stalked, hunted, and killed in the shadows, confident his secrets would never surface. But in one desperate escape, the truth spilled out into the light, revealing horrors that would haunt the public forever. He was a man in chains facing justice, a prison sentence that would end not in old age, but in a brutal retribution behind bars.